Hey guys, Adam Savage in my cave with what is, I believe, quite obviously, a short video about saws. Now, Jamie Heinemann's wonderful axiom that what we do as makers is we take things and make them smaller in precise ways. We take things and we take chunks of things and make them smaller in precise ways. That's what we do. And cutting is one of the major operations we do in a shop. We cut with circular blades, we cut with linear blades, and much of that cutting is automatic, right? With reciprocating saws and large pieces of equipment. But there is still a space in every shop for a selection of hand saws. And here's a selection of hand saws from my shop. I've got a hacksaw. Everyone should have one of these. Everyone should have one of these. Everyone should have one of these. Just, if you are a maker, this is a tool that you must have. They honestly, like 10 to 15 bucks. The blades are super replaceable. It'll cut through most things that you need to cut through. It's absolutely critical. It's not what this video is about. This is a standard American handsaw. I only recently got this one. It's got some beautiful teeth. They face straight down, which tells me that this saw cuts on both the push and the pull. This is a Fiskars, which I actually just got. This is a pull saw. And I actually really like it. I've only used it a couple of times. This is a bone saw that I picked up on eBay a few years ago. The teeth face away from the operator, which means this saw cuts on the push. And look, the one saw I don't have here is one of those large American wood saws, the push saw. And I don't have it because I don't like those. Not to say that they're not excellent saws, and that they are. They are excellent saws, and in the hands of a craftsperson, they can be used to do amazing things. There is no problem with the American push saw in and of itself, except that, for me, the Japanese version is better. And that's what this video is about. This is about a Japanese handsaw. There are multiple kinds of Japanese handsaws. I am not an expert in them, and I am not going to know the terminology for the different types. Some of them have rigid backs. Some of them are for flush cutting. So this one is one of those. Its teeth do not break the plane of the sides of the saw. It has a coarse side and a fine side. And this saw in particular, I think I paid over $100 for, because it was professionally sharpened. And this is my go. This literally says on it, for Adam only. Only I use this saw. No one else is allowed to touch this saw. A friend of mine is a chef, and in her own home kitchen, her knives say, like, only, if you don't live here, don't touch these knives. That's what this saw is. It's such a beautiful piece of equipment. This is, I paid for this after literally 25 years of using, actually I don't have it anymore because I think I gave it away, of using a $20, $25 Japanese saw, which did fine for me for 25 years. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, I wonder if I could buy a professionally sharpened saw. It'd be really nice. I use that for all the like really, really fine stuff. And that's what this is. I want to talk about that, how this works, but we're going to include a link below in a $40 version of this kind of saw, which is open on both sides for flush cutting. And that's the one that sufficed for me, again, for 25 years. The one that I had actually had a screw in the center, so I was able to take it apart and store it in my toolboxes and then pull it out when I needed it, which was ideal. And like I said, saws are great, and saw sharpening technology has gotten way better since I was a kid. You just buy much better saws that do great stuff. And this isn't to denigrate any other kind of saw, just to talk about how much I love this kind of saw and why. So to show why I love this saw, I've broken out a piece of the, what is this? 5.5 inch cedar that I used for the legs of my end tables over Christmas. I am going to cut just a very small slice off the end of this with a Japanese saw. I'm just making some marks here so I can be assured that I am accurate. And Here's hoping this goes pretty well. So I called it a pull saw, and that is really specifically because it cuts on the pull. On this coarse side, you can clearly see the teeth here. They move back towards the operator, and the same thing for the fine teeth. They go back towards the operator. In contrast, your standard American push saw, the teeth point away from the operator. So that's where they're doing their work. What is the difference? The difference is everything for me personally. In the fine motor skills required to acquire new skills, I am repeatedly confronted with the maker's conundrum of forcing something that wants less force and realizing consistently and continually that less is more when it comes to doing refined actions. If you've ever raced cars, at speed, when you're first doing it, it feels like you've got to be tense to keep this car in control. But as you get better at it, you learn that you've got to relax your body in order to be able to feel the car. The same is true for all tools and all other skills. The same is true for juggling, riding a bicycle, riding a unicycle, all these things that I have learned. The key is not to clench and tense. The key is to relax into it. And the pull saw allows me to do that as I use it. So I'm using my thumb to align this for the first little cut. And I'm cutting on the outside of the pencil line. And now, so the thing is here, actually I put the camera over here. Hang on. There I am. Hi, everybody. So the thing about this is, I am literally, like, you see what my hand here? I'm holding on to this with just, you almost want to let gravity do the work on this. And when you start to try and force it, oh man, it starts to let you know that that's not how this goes. Okay, but in order to make this cut nicely, I've got to make sure I start out with a nice straight line across the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut up for a minute while I do it. Oh, whoops, sorry. I have to lock this down. There we go. Good. Oh, I'm on it. And we're off. Yeah. So I've got a nice start here. It's a nice groove across. I'm on the outside of the pencil line, and I'm just going to work my way through here. I am applying very little downward. I can't talk and saw at the same time. I am applying very little downward pressure with this right hand as I'm going through this operation. It's very, very little. It's a very gentle cut. And boy, I can feel how much material I'm still getting. And because I'm pulling, look, if I'm pushing, this can move. But if I'm pulling, look, it's shaped outward like this. I'm pulling, I'm moving in line. It can't get bendy on me when I'm pulling. I feel like that's inherently better than pushing. And I say that, I hate thinking of one method as just better overall than the other, because I know there are craftspeople that can do incredible things with a push saw. I've seen it. But I loves me this one. So I'm going to change the camera angle a few times and show you a few different glimpses of this process. Oh. It is not a perfect cut, but it's pretty damn good. And that literally took maybe 5 minutes. Actually, I think significantly less than 5 minutes. I think maybe like 3 minutes. All right, so that took like 3 minutes. It's not a perfect cut because I'm not super great at this. That's actually a tough cut to make across 5.5 inches across this whole thing. Yeah, but there have been all sorts of cuts I've had to make in this shop that a machine tool here wouldn't necessarily do. That only a freestanding hand-operated saw can actually achieve. And just as I said at the beginning of this video, that every maker should have one of these, should have a hacksaw in their collection. By the same token, I think every maker should have one of these in their collection. The Japanese saw has served me well for now nigh on 30 years. 30 years of making. And it sounds really cool. If you played the saw, by the way, I love you. I love the saw. It's one of my favorite musical instruments. It's super weird. It's like the theremin of tools. Thank you guys for joining me for this tool tip. We're including a link to a $40 version of this that I like below. And thank you for joining me for this tool tip. I will see you guys next time.